In this video, we're going to be talking about hit points, hit dice, and death saving throws. We'll cover what hit points and hit dice are, how they're determined, and what happens when you run out of hit points. That is, how to do death saving throws. Hit points are granted by your class at each level. They represent your character's life or health, just like in a video game. When you run out of hit points, you fall unconscious. If you look at your character sheet in this center top square, you'll see that there's a box for total number of hit points, as well as how many you're currently at, as well as tracking temporary hit points and how many hit dice you have, along with tracking your death saves. Each class gives a different number of hit points based on its hit die. Barbarians use a d12, fighters, paladins, and rangers use a d10, artificers, bards, clerics, druids, monks, mystics, rogues, and warlocks all use a d8, and sorcerers and wizards use a d6. You also add your constitution modifier to your hit points at each level. You start off with the max number of hit points possible at first level, as if you rolled the highest number possible on the die. For example, a fighter would have a d10 hit die and a 14 in constitution, so +2 modifier, would have 12 hit points, the d10 +2. Whenever you level up, you either roll the hit die of your class that you're leveling up in, or you add a flat number. So for example, a d6 plus constitution modifier, or 4 plus constitution modifier for a wizard. You'll note that with either method, you still add your constitution modifier to the result. And if you happen to have a penalty to your constitution, you always gain at least 1 hit point with each level. If your constitution modifier increases, you gain hit points retroactively, as if you always had that higher modifier. So for example, at 4th level, a fighter increases his constitution from 15, which has a +2 mod, to 16, going to a +3. In addition to using the +3 for his health increase at that level, he also gains an additional health for each previous level, so +3. In addition to determining the increase in hit points, you'll notice that your hit dice also get recorded on your sheet. After you take a short rest, you can spend your hit die. You roll the dice and regain that many hit points. You regain all your hit dice after a long rest. When you multi-class, you gain hit points and hit dice just the same way. You gain hit points and hit dice from the class you level up in. For example, if you have 1d10 hit dice and HP from a level in fighter, and you level up into a wizard, you'll gain 1d6 hit dice and HP from that level in wizard. You would have 1d10 and 1d6 and the associated health points from it. Now, when you've lost all your hit points, you are unconscious. You take enough damage that you drop to 0 hit points, and the remaining damage is equal to or more than your maximum hit points, you die. So for example, a cleric has 12 hit points max, and he is currently at 6. An attack deals 18 damage to the cleric, lowering him to 0, and dealing additional damage equal to his maximum hit points. So from that 18, he loses 6, goes to 0, and still has 12 more damage to take, which is his maximum hit points. He dies. When you start your turn at 0 hit points, you make a death saving throw. This is just a straight d20 roll. You don't add or subtract anything to it. You succeed if you roll a 10 or higher. You fail if you roll less than that. Each individual success or failure has no effect. However, on your 3rd success, your character becomes stable. They are unconscious, but they're not dying. On your 3rd failure, you die. You take damage while you're unconscious. That counts as a failure. You roll A 1 on your saving throw, that counts as 2 failures. And if you roll a 20 on your death saving throw, you regain 1 HP. And no matter how much damage you took, you always start at 0 when you regain HP, be it from a saving throw or someone else healing you. So in this case, you would have 1 HP. You'll notice that there's little boxes you can check off to keep track of how many successes and failures you have. You're looking to get 3 successes before you get 3 failures. You can also stabilize a character with a DC 10 medicine check. If a stable character takes damage, they are no longer stable and they start rolling death saving throws again. If a stable character isn't healed, they regain hit points after a random number of hours. The important thing is you can stabilize a character so that they don't have to make those death saving throws and they don't risk dying. So we've covered what hit points are and how they're determined, what hit dice are and how they're used, what to do when your character loses all their hit points, and how death saving throws work.